Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is Go Again, a fabulous video cast covering the trading card game Flesh and Blood. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hey Flesh and Blood folks, welcome back to Dice Commando. Thanks for tuning in. So, man, week 1 of Tales of Aria spoiler season is already behind us, and we've only got a week to go. But by the end of the week, things will be in Vegas. We'll not only have blown out spoiler season, but people will be cracking real packs in Vegas. We're going to know the full set, but everybody's heads will already have kind of moved on from at least spoiler season, because we'll be talking what's happening in Vegas. So, despite being on vacation over the holiday weekend, here I am. I'm shooting really our only shot to kind of get a mid-week spoiler update, reviewing week 1 of what we've seen so far. Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, thanks for joining me. Like I said, week 1 spoiler review. I wanted a chance to go through what we've got and kind of, wrap our heads around it. Obviously, they, ended last week. We had the weekend to kind of digest it, and here we are. So, also you can see, of course, I'm not in the normal studio. I'm also shooting this at night, so it's a little darker than normal, and I'm also trying to be quieter than normal because this is the only time I could find to shoot, right? So, trying to be quieter, and hopefully can fix it on the back end. So anyway, thanks for your patience there. So, tonight, I want to go through a couple different bullet points, right? So I want to talk Lexi Ranger. I want to talk Old him, not Oldheim, right? Old him. Then I want to talk Lightning Aggro, Ice Control. We've only seen a few Earth cards, so we'll hit on that a little bit. I do want to talk Elemental Fusion, which I think is a big thing in this set. And then I do want to talk, we'll close out on creep and complexity, which I think is a hot topic, depending on which side of it you stand on. So those will be the topics for tonight. You can see, obviously, over here I've got the web page pulled up with all the spoilers we've seen to date. I'm going to kind of go top down, but that's actually not true at all, because I'm actually going to skip down to the Ranger stuff. So, because I want to look at the cards as we're talking about the topic. So, yeah, first let's talk Ranger. I mean, that's what we saw first. So Lexi, obviously we saw her, and yeah, I mean we've known about Lexi for a while now, but I don't want to go into individual cards. I don't want to go through each card, I should say. I do want to talk about some individual cards. I mean the big one being Voltaire, right? Being huge. It's only for her. So I mean I think overall, when we started to see the bigger picture of Ranger, I think it was quite fair for people to come out with the reaction of R.I.P. Azalea. I think it was completely reasonable, because I think that for 99 of 100 things, I think it's completely fair to say that the Lexi does it better, right? I mean, this bow, for example, just does it better, right, than a lot of things. Now, we can go down here. So, New Horizon, right? New Horizon is... I think it's reasonable within the discussion of talking about Ranger to, I mean, we've talked about it before. Crosswrap was already kind of fading itself out. Now I've heard some people pushing back whether this is just, again, I want Azalea to be good. I'm an Azalea player. And I think people are linking the Crosswrap and Azalea, and I don't think you have to necessarily do that, right? I mean, as far as Crosswrap, there was a big YouTuber who came out with a statement, and he was like, basically, stop saying that New Horizon has killed Crosswrap because they support different strategies. That's true, but Crosswrap wasn't even really supporting that strategy before New Horizon came out, so I do think Crosswrap's dead. Like, I really do. But, with that said, you got this card right below it, which is, this is an Azalea card, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, I think you still play it in Lexi, but this is an Azalea card, right? So we also have Boltyn shot. I mean, that's that card is everything. That card is everything you wanted a Ranger Arrow to do. That card's amazing, right? If you pump it, right, it's not if it hits. Well, if it hits, it's reload, but it does not with the go again. It only has to have boosted or a bump pumped. I mean, you would only have to have pumped it to get to go again. It only has to hit for the reload. This card's amazing, right? So a lot of good tools out there. So I do think that a lot of the initial reactions of, man, Azalea's dead, I think they were fair. However, I don't think she is at all. And I'm not saying that just because I'm vested. When she first came out, I was basically like, yeah, like Lexi does do basically everything better. But I think that with some of the tools we've seen, I mean, honestly, specifically this one, and this one, being Seek and Destroy and Boltyn Shot, I think Azalea lives, right? And honestly, I think Azalea lives rather cheaply. Well, maybe with the exception of this one, because I think Seek and Destroy is going to be highly sought after. I think it's going to be an expensive M, at least out of the gate. But we'll have to see, because let's go ahead and go back up to the top. Moving into Guardian talk. This guy's a beast. This guy's really scary. So once per turn defense reaction for 3, you know who doesn't hate playing 3s is Guardian. Keep in mind, I don't know why you would, it's based on what we've seen, but keep in mind this guy could play Anathos, right? So once per turn defense reaction, if an Earth card spits this way, prevent the next 2 damage would be dealt. If an Ice card spits this way, the attacking hero puts a card from their hand on top of their deck. If you do both, they do both. Now, that's a lot for you to do in terms of your hand. But again, we have this strategy, right? Winter's Wail. We have this continued strategy of Guardian of only needing 1 card in your hand to continue to apply pressure. So, I mean, this guy, Oldham, by the way, I like the young art better, personally. That said, doesn't matter, because you're playing what you're playing, right? But this guy's heavy control, like heavy control. So we'll have to see. Like, he's really, really scary in terms of lockdown, because we've already talked about Frostbite tokens quite a bit. This guy's really scary. And it's not just because of him, but, like, some of the stuff he's getting is just crazy good, right? I mean, we've seen Ice in general. I guess I'll skip one and go. I mean, let's talk about them together, right? Like, Ice control with the Frostbite tokens is pretty scary. Like, it looks like it's gonna really fut some things up, and I think it's well played. With, Lightning is very clearly aggro, right? Lightning aggro, like this, do this to get go again, and then you swing with the card that you just fused, right? So if you play all aggro, you're play all lightning. It's like some sort of pump card to give go again. Play a card that if it's fused gets a bonus and go again, and then you play the card that you just fused it with, right? Definitely card intensive, but aggro's looking very Chane-esque, and well, that's a bad statement, because that's different. I take that back, right? But it's looking very, maybe Boltyn-esque. Actually, it's a better way to say it, where it's looking very, very card intensive. Like, you just kind of don't really block. You just kind of hope to outgas, because you can't block. Because if you do, it screws up what you were trying to do, right? Because you need every card. It's seems very, very card intensive. Ice seems very well positioned to not let that happen, right? Which I think is pretty cool within set. I just don't know how Ice is going to play outside of set. Yeah, and then, so the big news from Guardian. Let's go down here. It's the shield, right? No, I don't think there's a secret there. The shield is very, very scary. So, all right, here we go. So the offhand rampart of the Ram's Head. Now, I think most people get this at this point, right? But if the Chane, so whenever you defend with it, by the way, cool way that they did the art here, right? You compare it to the buckler, right? Where the buckler has, a normal card frame. They changed the frame here, right? So you can see more of it, which I think was kind of neat for the legendary. Anyway, so whenever you defend with it, pay 1, gets 1. Simple enough. But keep in mind, right, the way that this works from defense is if they close the chain, you can defend again, right? And so then you can use another, and if it's floating, because like let's say you defend with this first time, you pitch with yellow, you have one floating, they close the chain, they come attack again, you can defend with this again, pay it, now it's worth 2. Right, so that's just to be clear why people have been saying the dash is dead, because remember, dash has to shoot and then do stuff to steam counter and reload, and right, or not reload because that's ranger, but you know what I'm saying, right? She shoots, she reloads, she shoots, she reloads, breaks the chain every single time. So that's why the dash chat has been out there. But this card is pretty scary in of itself, right? So you have this on Oldheim, you have the hammer on Oldheim, which, you know, it's one card. I mean, it has to be a blue pitch, but it's one card for 4. Meanwhile, you're spending your other cards to basically disrupt them on their own turn. Guy looks, and he's, I mean, like, again, let's go to the top. Look at him. Home Slice is repeatable defense that is non-permanent, right? The last card we saw, repeatable defense that was non-permanent. The last card we saw that did that got banned, right? Let's just put that in perspective. Now, I'm not saying they're the same, but I think it's a fair thing to keep in the back of our head in terms of what happens when we see repeatable defense, right? Now, obviously, this guy was clearly designed to do that, whereas, you know, before, the reason they banned Drone was because they didn't foresee it, you know, doing that. At least that's what they said. I would imagine in this case they did. So fair enough. Again, we'll have to see where it goes. I know, so I don't want to keep hammering on Guardian. Pun. All right, anyway, I don't want to keep on this, but I think that, you know, a lot of people's concerns about him, I think, are valid. But a lot of people are also excited about him, and some of it's the same, right? Some of the people who are worried about him are also very, very excited about him, and fair enough. I think it's good both ways. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play. I know there's a lot of people in my play group who are very, very into Guardian. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Earth, I don't even know. Actually, I'm pretty certain we don't have any Earth cards here. I think there was one Earth card out. It's Autumn's Touch Earth, I think it was. Yeah, so I don't know that we can deduce a whole bunch from what we've seen. It's just kind of big attacks, right? Which I don't think that really tells us anything yet. But, you know, based on what we've seen from the amulet, let's see if we can find that. There we go. Right. So the amulet, based on what we've seen, it probably functions somewhat defensively, but I would expect to see those early in week 2. So we'll get a better picture there. But we definitely, I mean, think about it. We have aggro, we have control, we have aggro and lightning, we have control in ice. So then functionally, I would think that Earth would somehow be supportive, right? I mean, because you can't really have a mid-range element, right? But you could play the supportive role that would kind of function for both, right? So we'll see on this next hero. This next hero is going to be an interesting spot. Because what we have with Lexi is you have aggro, control, and then this next guy we have, let's say, control support. So he's your tank. And then your next hero, so if Lexi's the aggro version, or maybe not because she's aggro control, so then maybe this next guy's aggro boost or aggro support. So maybe this next guy's actually the more aggro one. I don't know. We'll see. Well, I mean, again, we'll get more Earth, but you know, that's all speculation at this point. The next thing I want to talk about is fusion, right? So let's just go find a fusing card here. Here we go. Chilling Ice Vein. Why not? Let's go to the red version because it's sexier, right? So fusing is very, very card intensive, which I think adds. So I mean, these two kind of fit together with this one and the next one, right? But creep and complexity. And they're different, right? Creep and complexity are different. There's been chatter about both of them. I mean, I think the complexity increases here, but with complexity, in this case, doesn't necessarily mean like brain complexity, not like playing Chane necessarily, right? But the complexity of having to build your deck, the different layers to be able to make sure that you have what you need, and also being able to avoid your opponent disrupting you getting from what you need, I think is going to be really hard here. So I think that's a very complex thing in this case. And obviously with fusing, it ups the card intensivity, right? The number of cards you need to make fusing work, right? Because like look at Chilling Ice Vein. on the core, you need something to pay for it. Something to pay for it. You need that card to play it, and you need some card to fuse. So out of the gate, you need 3 cards, right? So now you're in Boltyn territory of, I gotta have a card to charge, a charge, and something to pay for it. It's the same function thing. And then if you're trying to do something more, I don't know. We'll have to see. Fusing, the payoff's big, right? And no one can deny that payoff's big. We will have to see how it plays out. But I really hope that this set isn't just all gas. But maybe there's enough ice in this set that it'll, lack of a better term, cool things down. We'll have to see. But I'm very concerned about the entire set being rather card intensive. Because even if you look at Oldheim, right? We don't need to scroll back up to him, but even if you look at Oldheim, he's card intensive. It's just that, you have, because he basically wants to play both elements, I think, but you're spending most of that on your defensive turn until you can, build up for your big attacks. Oh, and you know what? While we're on it, one more thing about Oldheim is we're seeing a lot of dominate, and when you hit, your opponent discards, or when you hit, your opponent puts on the bottom of their deck. You're seeing a lot of that, and those were pretty powerful effects. Are pretty powerful effects in Fab, and he's getting a lot of them. I think that's scary, right? So I think that's why for some of this stuff you're seeing people come out on the creep, and let's be clear here, right? Creep first, right? On creep, you always have a degree of power creep. You always have it when more things are released, right? It's called, at the very least, it's called wide creep, right? Where you start to just have more options, right? I mean, we saw the thing below, like Boltyn shot. Sure, Boltyn shot's great, but even if it had just been a basic 0/4 arrow, what that does is it gives Azalea more options, right? So you always have wide creep whenever something's released, right? Which just gives you more options, and when you get more options, you can always cut down to the better of those options. So I mean it's always a thing, right? And creep is inevitable in these type of games. It is, right? And it's not whether creep happens, it's how fast creep happens, right? And the games that creep faster, they burn hotter, but they burn hotter in all directions, right? They sell better, they get a lot of intensity, and then they poof, right? So do I think that's a problem in Fab? No, not right now, right? So in the defense of that, right, explaining where I stand on creep, that it's okay when controlled. Creep is inevitable, and it's okay when controlled. That said, we haven't even seen the generics yet. I don't think we've seen any generics yet. Now, we've seen elemental stuff, which is somewhat pseudo-generic, but we haven't seen the actual generics yet. So where are we going to be when we see those? Maybe they're a pile of garbage. Maybe there's some really hot stuff in there. Because, there's always the issue in spoiler season that you see a lot of the hot stuff early to get people excited. But the hot stuff seems really hot, right? And then, the second part of that is there do seem to be some legitimate concerns on power creep. I mean, you can go something simple like Lexi versus Azalea, which I think is 75% accurate at this point. I think most of the complaints are not, and they don't even have to be complaints, right? But I think most of the chatter around anything Azalea can do, Lexi can do better, I think is mostly true. I think with some of the tools we've seen, specifically Seek Below, or not Seek Below, Sink Below. Seek, I don't know, whatever it was. Sorry, brain farting here. Seek and Destroy, thank you. Right, so Seek and Destroy and Boltyn Shot are great options for her. And New Horizon could open things. I don't know, we'll see. But the thing is, I don't think you need it for Azalea. Either way, right? But my point here is, I still do think that's mostly valid. I think that Lexi is far more playable in general than Azalea is, even though Azalea got new stuff and they're playing different strategies. Yeah, you're right, they are playing different strategies, but which one's better, right? And I think probably Lexi has more access to it. We'll see how it plays out. I also think that the discussions around creep on Oldham are pretty legit, right? It's early, right? I mean, that's always the disclaimer. That's always the great thing about this time of the season. So I can take a shot, and then if I'm wrong, I'm like, well, it was early, I don't know, right? And everybody can do that, right? But out of the gate, he looks pretty brutal. And if you're a dash pistol player, because Mechanologist isn't getting anything in this set, and where we know that for a fact because they always do it alphabetically, and the one yet to be revealed is after RA, right? Ranger, right? Alphabetically is after RA, so it's not Mechanologist. So Mechanologist is getting only generic support, hasn't gotten any support since Crucible, and that in itself isn't a problem. But then you just release the Ram's Head, which takes her out, right? So if you're a dash player, I understand why you'd be pretty pissed off right now. But you know what? There's other heroes to explore too. So to be clear here, right, for the people who are shouting at the screen right now, I'm not saying that the game's busted or is breaking, right? I'm just saying that people's concerns about power creep, I think, are completely legitimate, more so than we've seen in other sets. But again, when the last set came out, Monarch, we said, wow, some of this stuff seems really powerful. Now, most of those complaints are around Chane, which I think have mostly held. But I don't mind seeing. I mean, Oldham's going to put Chane down hard, I would think. So, I don't know. We will see. Anyway, that's pretty much it for week one. I mean, this is really just kind of me talking and doing a rundown about it, and thanks for hanging out with me. Really is all there is with that. All there is to it. So yeah, so hopefully, the way we did this makes sense. I apologize for scrolling up and down, but I, wanted just the ability to go look at some specific cards when we talked about it. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. I'm just scrolling through it, and a lot of really, really cool stuff in this set. It's very, very exciting. I don't know how I feel about these dual elemental cards. I know I just said we'd get out of here, but I don't know how I feel about these. I mean, they're legendary, which is kind of cool. And by legendary meaning there's one. They're not like legendary rarity, majestic rarity. I mean, this one is 0 for +4 is pretty hot, right? And it's lightning ice. I mean, Lexi likes that. Like, I just don't know how I feel about them. They feel a little too and I don't mean like in a bad way. Like, they feel a little too like easily good. But I mean, it's only one. But again, it's the same. I would assume since it's legendary, it's going to be one of the like, what do they call that when they print less of them? Short run. It'll be short run, or all of these will be. And they haven't shown them, but there's one of each. We've seen them all. So anyway, and then this guy, this Frostbite token is going to be relevant, I think, because I think we're going to see a lot of cranky grandpa. So anyway, folks, that'll do me tonight. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. I just want to remind everybody, I've got the schedule up for all of our events through the end of the year, Gunga Games, when you guys get back from Vegas. Right, this is a holiday week in the U.S. Vegas is next weekend. When you guys get back, man, come jam some Fab with us, right? Be a good time. So anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in, and go Commando.